Hey guys, Blake here with another video. As you guys may or may not know, I'm a huge advocate for feeding live foods in your aquariums. And you've seen videos before on things like vinegar eels, microworms and baby brine shrimp, which are suitable for baby fish and newborn fry. However, today I'm going to show you how to culture a live food for your adult fish, and a way that you will hopefully see a lot more increased breeding activity and just an improved overall conditioning of your fish. So let's jump straight into the video today, where we're going to discuss culturing live blackworms. Let's get into it. Okay, so blackworms are well renowned as being one of the absolute best live foods you can feed to your adult fish. So we know baby brine shrimp has a reputation as the best live food for fry. Well, these little critters here are what we refer to as live blackworms. As you can see, they're about the same size as what you can expect from a bloodworm, but the great thing about blackworms are that they are fully aquatic, so they will survive in your aquarium. You don't have to do anything crazy. In fact, a lot of people keep them in the substrate with their fish, and opportunistically the fish will just go down, find a blackworm, and you've got a very sustainable, high quality food source in your aquarium. But just so that I can ensure the availability of my blackworms, we're going to set up a culture tank today, which is slightly different, although because I have fed live blackworms before, a lot of my tank substrates already have the blackworms in them. So the process for culturing live blackworms is really simple and really straightforward, and a lot of you probably have most of this stuff lying around the house as it is. So first of all, we're going to need a tank. You don't need anything too big, and if you do go too big, it's probably a waste of time anyway, because live blackworms don't actually like to have that deep of water. So 6 to 10 inches is pretty good. Around 15 centimeters, something like that is going to be an ideal depth of water for them. So just like any fish, they will produce waste and create ammonia. So we've got a small sponge filter as our filtration, and we are going to do water changes on this tank even though it is just a culture. So the blackworms, they live in the substrate, as I said, so we're going to use some classic pea gravel or river gravel here. We'll try not to make a mess. And we're just going to put a very, very thin layer of that across the tank. So got the tank here. This is a Kmart 20-litre tank. In terms of gallons, that's basically a 5-gallon. And I'm just going to put a super thin layer of this pea gravel all the way across the bottom. If you put more, you're really going to just create work for yourself when it comes time to harvesting them out. But if you're not quite sure exactly why that is, I'm going to demonstrate that by the end of this video. 1 or 2 stones deep, that's all we really want. So just for context, I'll give you a look. Okay, so this is how we've basically set it up. Literally just enough to cover the whole bottom of the aquarium, and yeah, 1 or 2 bits of gravel deep, nothing too crazy. So very, very fine layer of substrate there. Maybe I could put a little bit more, but it's really not necessary. They just want to create a bit of coverage, and the purpose of this gravel as well is for something functional a bit later. We're going to speed up our production of blackworms, so stick around to hear the secondary benefit of using gravel like this. Okay, so now that we've got our gravel in place, the next thing we really need is just water. And the best thing I would suggest is get the most seasoned aquarium you have and use water from that, because that's going to have plenty of little microcrustaceans and infusoria that the worms are going to use as a food source. So I just get, in this aquarium, I'm going to fill it up about halfway, so we're going to use about 10 litres of water, or just over 2.5 gallons of water. We're just going to fill it up about halfway with water from our most mature tank in the fish room. So we'll just grab a few buckets, we'll fill up this tank. Okay, so the next step is to set up our little sponge filter. And if you like this and the water level is not going to allow the uplift tube, then you can remove it, it's not necessary. And then we're just going to connect it up for convenience. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use this USB air pump and hook it up to the power bank. So we'll just shove it in there. It might float for a little while. We'll just squeeze all the air out of there. Now, of course, you can hook it up to whatever air pump you like. This is just for the sake of what we're doing here today. And that's what you can expect. So This essentially is a fully functioning aquarium. Ideally we'd use a seeded sponge filter, something that's matured. Once again, it's going to harbour that sort of bacteria and infusoria colony that we're looking for. But other than that, we've got a very thin layer of gravel. We've got a sponge filter, something to bring aeration and kickstart the nitrogen cycle. Now it's time to add our worms. Now, just like any other worm, it's a good idea, or just like any other fish, it's a good idea to float them in the aquarium, bring them up to temperature. And we'll just add them in like anything else. When we do add them in, you're going to find that they'll go straight to the substrate. We probably won't be able to see them for quite a while. When it comes time to wanting to harvest them, we can touch on now why it's a great idea to use this sort of gravel. So first of all, blackworms, they don't really breed within the aquarium setting like other things do. The way that the blackworms actually reproduce for us is by splitting in half, and then that forms two blackworms essentially. So the reason that it's a good idea to use gravel and a thin layer is because every few days it's a good idea to go in and just mix it all up, and that's inevitably going to split the worms in 2-3 parts, and we're going to create more worms that way. So you're going to speed up your production and be able to feed the worms to your fish more regularly. Then when it comes time to harvest, what we're going to use is our turkey baster. So the best way to harvest this, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but the best way is to use this turkey baster here. And this is why it's great to have a thin layer of gravel, because what we're going to do is just basically press it all the way to the bottom of the glass and run it through, releasing the bulb at the same time, slowly sucking up all the worms that are in the substrate. So if we were using, for example, an aqua soil or something, this process would get very dirty very quickly. And if we had a thick layer of gravel, then what we'd do is actually clog up the turkey baster a lot, sucking up a lot of small gravel, and it would just be not as easy. So thin layer of gravel works best for this, and a big turkey baster, and you should be on your way. So in order to keep the worms real fat and happy, you can feed them a spirulina based diet. Other people feed them things like organic paper towels, so long as there's no sort of dyes or anything in there that's going to affect the worms and the fish eventually. But I'm going to use either my fry powder mix, or I'll just use this straight spirulina powder here that I've got. Most health food stores should be able to find some spirulina powder, and that'll work great. Any old algae wafer will also do the job if you wanted to just throw a few of those in. Other than that, it should be fairly easy to raise, culture, and feed out your live blackworms. I think you'll find that your fish will absolutely love them, and even the most picky of fish will happily hunt down a live blackworm. So you'll also find that it will trigger a lot of spawning behavior. So if you've got those fish that are really stubborn and just won't breed for you, give the live blackworms a go. Whether you culture them or just pick up a pot at your local fish store, then give them a go, because I think your fish will thank you for it. So hopefully you liked this video. If you did, it always helps me out to smash like, hit subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.